Did Biden and the Dems stop a midterm rout by lying that they were going to cancel student debt when in fact they might not do that at all? It is, of course, commonly understood now that an expected red wave did not materialise. Is this because Trump is no longer an effective politician? Or could another explanation be that young people turned out in record numbers, in part because of student debt cancellation, a pledge made by Biden that, a little like his cannabis laws, may not amount to very much at all. This is a fascinating story that shows that the pledge to cancel student debt may not be as straightforward as we'd first thought, that there were numerous ways that this legislation could have been passed, and the route that's been chosen actually means that student debt may not be meaningfully cancelled at all. Have a look.
Hey folks, I wanted you to hear it right from me.
Who else would it be from? Who else is going to tell you? Would you wait to read it on your son's laptop?
Here's what you should know. We're going to forgive $10,000 of federal student loan debt, keeping my campaign promise. For the people who need the help the most, the folks who went to school on Pell Grants, we're going to forgive a total of $20,000.
This seems like a good pledge to me. Now, I know many of you will think, why should a particular class of people, the educated class, get relief that's not being afforded to, for example, tradespeople? And that's an interesting argument, and an argument I'm sympathetic to. Broadly speaking, though, I think that education, whether it's in trades or in academia, should be granted for as close to free as possible. Educate your population, awaken and enlighten them. But this information that Biden is conveying here is not true in the manner that he's explaining. Let's get into it a little more deeply. In the midterms, voters under the age of 29 broke for the Democrats in overwhelming numbers, helping turn the much-feared red wave into a red trickle. In a speech on Wednesday night, President Biden acknowledged that student debt relief played a big role in motivating the historic turnout of young people. Debt relief almost certainly played a decisive role in key races, including Senate races. Consider Pennsylvania, where cancellation champion John Fetterman beat Dr. Oz. In Arizona, Mark Kelly, another proponent of cancellation, exceeded expectations. Not so for Ohio Democrat and Senate hopeful Tim Ryan, who strongly opposed Biden's cancellation plan and lost to J.D. Vance. On Twitter, the White House Chief of Staff, Ron Klain, made a similar point, saying that President Biden kept his promises to younger Americans and they responded with energy and enthusiasm. Not like when he sniffs their heads. The problem is that Klain's comment isn't totally accurate. Young people did indeed respond with energy and enthusiasm to at least one promise that is to date unfulfilled. Almost 3 months after Biden's cancellation program was announced, not a single person has seen a penny of relief.
Stopping it there, and welcome to Mika Reaction Reviews, where we react to review to things on the internet. Same day, same shirt, different video. And today we are reacting to Russell Brand, and he's explaining why our dear old Uncle Joe Biden lied once again, like the whole giving a bunch of pardons to prisoners who were arrested for marijuana charges. Not one, 0 prisoners were actually released, but they made a whole big hoopla about it, gave him a round of applause, a standing ovation, and a pat on the back, and nothing actually was done. And so it looks like the same thing is happening when it comes to the student debt forgiveness, that it's not as straightforward as people think it is, and not many people, student debt will probably be forgiven, and that's what he ran on, just like he ran on that, what it was like the $2,000 stimulus check that never happened. Okay. How many times you gotta lie to you before you get it through your head that you're being lied to? Anyway, I'm gonna continue letting Russell Brand comically explain what the fuck is going on. All right, let's continue.
A penny of relief. Okay, well that could be because bureaucratic processes take a while and we wouldn't expect those promises to have been delivered on yet. But let's look at some of the administrative details in the way that this measure has been taken, some of which certainly raise questions. And now they may not ever see relief. On Thursday night, a Trump-appointed judge in Texas struck down the student loan cancellation program. Now, of course, many people who dislike Donald Trump will say, well, of course, a Trump-appointed judge has struck this down. However, what's curious is it needn't have gone that route at all. Listen carefully. While the president has blasted the Republicans behind these lawsuits, the real story is more complicated. Biden could have directed the education secretary to cancel people's debts using the Compromise and Settlement Authority granted in the Higher Education Act of 1965. But instead, his administration invoked a different and more limited legal authority. It was this limited authority that the Texas judge formally took issue with. So had he wanted to, a measure could have been immediately taken to instantly cancel that debt, bypassing the Trump judge. So one hypothesis could be that they took this route knowing it would get struck down by a Trump-appointed judge. Now, if we had proper access and proper investigative journalism, we would, of course, ask someone close to Biden, why didn't you use the Compromise and Settlement Act if it was always your intention? Note how the cannabis laws were only enacted at a federal level, meaning nobody was released from prison rather than some people were released from prison. They also chose to make borrowers apply for the program instead of automatically issuing cancellation, a slow-moving process that bought their billionaire-backed opponents valuable time to cook up legal arguments, find plaintiffs, and line their cases up with sympathetic judges. So again, the manner in which this was undertaken was not the only one, but it was the least efficient one. It granted valuable time to opponents of the measures so they could line their ducks up and prevent the bill being passed if they wanted to. Also, it provides a convenient get-out clause because a Trump-appointed judge axed the idea. The simple truth is whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, your party is significantly backed by billionaires. Now, things get even more interesting here because Biden has publicly said that this law has already been passed, which is an absolute lie. Now, Biden does get confused pretty regular, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
So basically what they did is they brought forth the student debt forgiveness plan in a way where they knew, they possibly knew, they probably knew, they knew that it was going to get struck down anyway, and they can simply just wag their fingers at the Republicans. If they truly wanted to make a quick, efficient way of forgiving student debt, they could have just did it in an instant. It could have been automatically with no one having to apply, and it could have involved everyone, especially those who also go to school for different trades. But they didn't do it that way. And this is why nothing ever gets done. The Democrats have had literally the House, the Senate, the presidency, and the vice presidency for how long now, and what have they actually got done? But what they do is they do things in a way where they don't have to, but they do things in a way where they involve the Republicans and the conservatives, which I understand you want to balance government, but they're doing that so they can have a scapegoat. They're not doing that so they can work with the other side. They're doing that so they can say, look, we're the good guys. We tried to forgive your student debt, but it was those mean old evil Republicans. They're the ones who shot it down. Not being honest about the fact that the way they did it, they knew it was going to get shot down. If they really wanted to forgive your student debt, they could have just did it in an instant. You know, whether you agree with that or not, there's a lot of people that don't agree with forgiving student debt. A lot of people feel like that's going to fall on taxpayers or the elderly or the next generation or whatever. But if they truly wanted to do it, they could have done it. But they didn't. So they have a scapegoat. And people who are not paying attention, or people who just truly just hate conservatives, will just take their excuse and run with it instead of going, but wait a minute. But wait a minute, if you really wanted this to happen, why did you go this route? It's inefficient. You knew it wasn't going to happen. You knew it was going to get struck down. But most people, especially young people, aren't going to do that. But anyway, let's continue.
President Joe Biden falsely claimed last week that he got his student debt forgiveness initiative passed by Congress. During an on-camera discussion conducted by progressive organisation Now This News, Biden told young activists that they are probably aware I just signed a law that is being challenged by Republicans. Biden then said, it's passed, I got it passed by a vote or two, and it's in effect. That's one of those lies where you provide too much detail. Yeah, I don't know why these earrings are by my bed. I guess it's because I've become an earring salesman in my spare time. What Biden's done there is he's provided too much detail on top of a lie. It hasn't been passed. It hasn't been subject to a vote. So what on earth was he saying? Facts First said Biden's claims are incorrect. Biden created his student debt forgiveness initiative through executive action, not through legislation. So he did not sign a law and he didn't get the initiatives passed by any number of votes. The Biden administration has now stopped accepting applications for federal student loan forgiveness. So what's interesting about this story is that whether or not you think that student debt should be cancelled, and I personally think that it should be and that people ought be educated. I think that everybody should have access to education, whether that's in academia or in trades. I think that's an important function of the state to provide that kind of education, especially when you look at how much is spent elsewhere. But if you do deliver those kind of pledges and galvanise and mobilise voters in that way, then you certainly have to deliver, and I would say deliver efficiently and not lie about it. Perhaps the reason they feel free to make these kind of pledges and claims is because the way they regard young people, voters more generally, but young people in particular, is as kind of little more than children, perhaps as idiots. And if you think that's extreme, have a look at this.
What's the other thing we know about this population? And it's a specific phase of life. Remember, age is more than a chronological fact.
It isn't, actually.
What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid. That is why we put them in dormitories. And they have a resident assistant. They make really bad decisions.
Now, perhaps Kamala Harris, give her the benefit of the doubt, was joking in that situation. But that does chime with my general assessment that we are regarded by people in power as little more than idiots and at best as children that have to be coordinated and guided, who it's okay to lie to. I would not identify as a Republican or a Democrat, and I would say that whoever had come out on top in those midterms, ordinary people's lives, generally speaking, would not have significantly improved, certainly not in the way that they would if we were to radically change our systems of government so they were representative of the interests of ordinary people and not a reflection of the requirements of corporate elites, globalist agenda, mainstream media. You know the list by now, surely. It's interesting to see another apparent political victory boiling down to a bit of tactical ingenuity, a pledge made that will only be delivered upon in a limited way, perhaps affording opponents of that legislation or regulation, however you regard it, whether it's the correct term, the opportunity to prevent it being meaningfully passed.
And I agree that young people are stupid. However, it's kind of like a baby, right? When you have a baby, you're supposed to talk to your baby in regular English, right? There's articles that have come out and said if you talk to your baby in Gerber language, like goo goo gaga, then you're not helping your baby's brain and language skills develop. So you're supposed to speak to them in plain English so they can learn to speak. So if you treat children, if you treat young people, adolescents, young adults like idiots, then they will stay idiots, perpetual idiot adolescents, right? If you treat them like adults, you speak them to like adults, and you treat them, you give them the responsibilities and accountabilities and make them self-sufficient, then they won't be so stupid. But people are a reflection of society. So if you dumb people down, then they're going to act dumb. If you treat them like children, then they'll act like children. So it's not like they are perpetually stupid. It's because they've been reared that way. Not only by their parents, but by their education system, by social media, by entertainment, by their own politicians. They've been reared to be perpetually stupid, dumbed down to adolescents well into their 40s.
Why was it not passed in the most effective way? Why was the debt not cancelled immediately? Why are similar measures not afforded to people that trained in trades as well as just in academia? Is it that it was simply a tactic to mobilise a certain demographic while alienating another portion of the population? So, even in instances where it seems like something's being given back to ordinary people, there are often invisible administrative veils being drawn and levers being pulled to prevent real change happening.
We're going to forgive $10,000 of federal student loan debt, keeping my campaign promise.
This is politics in microcosm. Like many of Joe Biden's pre-election pledges, is not being meaningfully fulfilled. Saudi Arabia are not being made a pariah. People are not being released in significant numbers from prison as a result of cannabis pledges. And even the pledge to cancel student debt has not been done in the most efficient way. What does it tell you that people will enthusiastically respond to being offered just a meager amount of hope? What kind of state are we in as a people where piecemeal measures are seen as cause for celebration? This is how politics operates now. So much deception, so much despondency, so much despair that small pledges inefficiently delivered are seen as major victories, when in fact probably what they are is just tactical manoeuvring in order to motivate voters while doing the minimum possible in order to continue to not inconvenience your billionaire backers. Whether it's this pledge that doesn't look like it's going to be delivered in anything like the degree that was promised, or perhaps more significantly, the pledge not to exacerbate tensions on a global scale that could lead lead to nuclear war. It seems between the discourse of politics and the delivery of politics is a vast gap. And in that gap, there is continuing despondency, continuing despair, and in my mind, reason to continue to be cynical and skeptical about the game of politics, the spectacle of modern democracy. But that's just what I think. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these. Remember to...
That's it, guys, and that was Russell Brand talking about the scam that is the student debt forgiveness. I think it's not only that people just accept the sort of crumbs that the politicians give you. I think we accept political theater and pandering, as we applaud it. We give the politicians brownie points for saying the right language or making the right maneuvers, but without any actually tangible improvement, without actually doing much of anything. We are okay now with lip service, basically, as long as our side, as long as our tribe wins, whether you're on the left or the right. There's a lot of people who will vote for a MAGA Trump Republican candidate that might not get anything done simply because he's on the right side, he's on the right team, he's in the right tribe, and not really pushing to see real change and real policies being made and enacted properly. The whole pushing the student debt through executive order is kind of the same thing with the Obamacare. Obamacare was never really officially like a law. That's why it was easily dismantled for the better or for the worse. A lot of people were happy that it was easily dismantled and a lot of people weren't. But it's like, if they really cared about you and they really thought this was the best thing for you, then why wouldn't they do it in a way where it was permanent and substantial and really gonna enact change and help you? They don't care. It's pandering, it's lip service, it's performative theater, it's political theater, and a lot of people have gotten to the point where they're used to it. They want to normalize it so you are used to it, so you won't question anymore. You won't even expect anything more from your politicians because this is what you're used to. You're used to getting lip service and a bit of crumbs, but not much of anything. No real change. And again, this is on the left and the right. But anyway, guys, tell me what you think of what I said and what Russell Brand said. Are you surprised that this whole student debt forgiveness thing was kind of a scam? Did you want it to go through? Were you hoping for this to go through? Do you think education should be free? I'm in the middle of that. I need more of economic experts to tell me how this will work out if we have free education. There's a lot of countries that have free education but high taxes. If you want free education, I feel like people have to be willing to pay more taxes. Or do you think education should be privatized, or there should be somewhere in the middle? Let me know in the comment section below. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell to get the notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, you can donate. My PayPal link is in the description box below and also in the comment section. Of course, it helps, but you don't have to. You can just like, comment, and subscribe. Another great way to support this channel is either join my brand new membership program, different levels, different tiers, different perks, or you can visit my brand new merch shop. Links down below, and links to all of the alternative platforms I'm on, my socials, including my Twitter. All the ways to support me and all the ways to contact me for business is always in the links down below. And if you like, you can super thanks. I also have a second travel vlog channel. I travel as a lifestyle. I live abroad. If you'd like to know where I am in the world, you can go to the description box below and also in the comment section. Hit the link. Go subscribe to my travel vlog channel and or follow me on my travel Instagram. My stories is usually what's most up to date. And you guys have an amazing day.